I spent over $35,000 on our wedding and gave this woman everything she wanted. I felt so much pain seeing Balitasari in that position with my wife. The picture in my head is something I will carry until the day I die. It was not just betrayal of the body. It was betrayal of the soul. What hurt me even more was that this same style almost caused problems between Lydia and me because I liked closeness and intimacy in a certain way and she said it was not godly. I accepted her words because we are both Christians. Now behind my back she allowed another man to do what she once told me was sinful. That is where my story truly begins. My name does not matter much anymore. I feel like the man I used to be died the day I learned the truth. Before all this I was just a simple man who believed in love, marriage, faith and hard work. I believed that if you prayed together, struggled together and stayed faithful, then God would protect your home. I was wrong. Or maybe I was just naive. I met Lydia at church. That alone should tell you how deep my trust was. She was the kind of woman everyone admired. Soft-spoken, always smiling, always ready to help. She sang in the choir and volunteered with the women ministry. People used to tell me I was blessed. They said I found a virtuous woman. Even the pastor once said from the pulpit that Lydia was a model of Christian womanhood. I believed every word. When we started dating, we kept things clean. No pressure. No rushing. Lydia was very strong about purity and boundaries. She always said her body was the temple of God. I respected that. I truly did. I wanted to honor God and honor her. I thought that kind of discipline meant she would be faithful forever. Our wedding was expensive. I did not come from wealth, but I wanted her to have everything. The hall, the decorations, the dress, the food, the music. Over $35,000 gone in one day. People danced, laughed and congratulated us. Lydia cried when she walked down the aisle. I cried too. I thought I was the luckiest man alive. The early years were not perfect, but they were good. We prayed together every morning. We read the Bible at night. We attended church twice a week. On the outside we looked like the ideal Christian couple. Inside I was already starting to feel something was off, but I ignored it. Intimacy was always complicated with Lydia. She would say certain things were not godly. She would quote scriptures. She would say we must be careful not to let desire control us. I listened. I adjusted. I sacrificed my own feelings because I wanted peace and righteousness in our home. Sometimes I felt rejected, but I told myself this was the price of loving a God-fearing woman. Whenever I tried to talk about how distant she felt, she would say I was overthinking. She would remind me of how much she loved me. She would say the devil was trying to bring confusion. I believed her. I always believed her. Balitasari entered our lives quietly. He was introduced as a respected man, a powerful man, a man people feared and admired at the same time. He came to church once for a special program. He donated money. He shook hands with the leaders. Everyone treated him like royalty. Lydia noticed him before I did. She talked about him often. She said he was inspirational. She said God was using him to bless the nation. I did not feel threatened because I trusted my wife completely. That was my biggest mistake. Over time, Lydia started changing. She became more secretive with her phone. She started dressing differently when she said she was going to meetings. She prayed less with me and more alone. When I asked questions, she said I lacked trust. She said a good Christian husband should not doubt his wife. I felt guilty for even thinking something was wrong. There were nights I lay awake beside her feeling like a stranger. She would turn her back to me and fall asleep quickly. I would stare at the ceiling asking God what I was doing wrong. I fasted. I prayed harder. I read books about being a better husband. I blamed myself for everything. The day the truth came out was not dramatic at first. It was quiet. Too quiet. Lydia said she was traveling for a church-related conference. Something about women leadership. I wanted to go with her, but she said it was only for women. I kissed her goodbye and told her to be safe. That night something pushed me to check her laptop. I had never done that before. I felt sick even thinking about it. But there it was. Messages. Conversations that broke every belief I had about my marriage. There were words that should never exist between a married woman and another man. There were plans. There were lies. There was Balitasari. I remember shaking so badly I could not stand. I sat on the floor holding the laptop like it was a weapon. I felt anger, shame, confusion and disbelief all at once. This was not just an affair. This was a double life. When Lydia came back, I did not confront her immediately. I watched her. I listened. I noticed how easily she lied. How naturally she prayed. How smoothly she smiled. It scared me. I realized I did not know the woman I married. The final confirmation came when I followed her one evening. I am not proud of it, but I needed the truth. What I saw destroyed me completely. It was not just that she was with another man. It was that she gave him the part of her she told me was forbidden. She broke our vows and used God as her excuse. I did not scream. I did not fight. I drove home in silence and cried like a child. I felt emasculated. I felt mocked. I felt like my faith had been used against me. That night I slept on the floor and asked God one question. Why? This is only the beginning. The pain did not end there. The next morning I woke up with my mind in chaos. I could not eat. I could not pray. I could not even think straight. Every time I looked at Lydia, I saw the truth burning behind her eyes, and it made my stomach turn. I knew I could not wait any longer. I had to confront her, even if it destroyed everything. I had to hear her say the truth from her own mouth. I waited until she returned from the morning errands. She came in smiling as if nothing had changed. The sight of her smiling made me feel sick. I could not speak at first. I just stared at her, holding the laptop, feeling the weight of the evidence in my hands like a hammer pressing on my chest. Lydia, I finally said, my voice shaking. We need to talk. She tilted her head, her smile fading slightly. About what? She asked. The calmness in her voice made my blood boil. How could she pretend? How could she act as if our marriage, our vows, everything we had built together, meant nothing? I placed the laptop on the table and opened it to the messages. I did not need to say anything. The screen spoke for itself. I watched her expression change from casual indifference to shock, then to something I could not read. It was a mask. A mask she had used so well for years. You lied, I said, my voice rising now, trembling with fury. You told me we were faithful, that you were a God-fearing woman, and all this time I could not finish. The words felt too weak for the pain I felt. She took a deep breath, and then, with a calm I could not understand, she spoke. I know why you are upset. But you must understand. It is not what you think. Balitasari, he is a powerful man. He has guidance, wisdom, and insight that I could never find in you. I froze. My heart skipped a beat. Did she just say he was better than me? Did she just justify this with his power? He has wisdom. I asked slowly, my voice barely audible. You are married to me. We built a home together. I prayed for you, and I gave you everything, and you let him. She nodded, still calm, still collected, as if she were reading from a prepared speech. I know it is hard for you to understand. But God sometimes puts people in our path for reasons we cannot see. Balitasari has shown me things. He has guided me. I feel that God is using him to open my eyes. I could not believe what I was hearing. I wanted to scream, to break something, to run, to hide, to disappear. But I had no words. My brain was spinning. The betrayal was worse than the act itself. It was her words, her excuses, her manipulation. She was using faith, the very thing that bound us together, as a weapon against me. You are using God to justify this, I said finally, my voice trembling with anger and despair. You are twisting everything we believed in, everything we prayed for, everything I gave you. This is not godly. This is sin, plain and simple. She tilted her head again, that same calm, calculating look. I am not twisting anything. You cannot see it because your faith is limited. You are too narrow-minded. You are too afraid to accept the path God has shown me. I stared at her, feeling my chest tighten. I could feel my blood pressure rising, my hands shaking, my eyes burning. Every word she said cut deeper than the reality itself. She was not remorseful. She was not ashamed. She was proud. That pride hurt more than the act. That manipulation shattered my soul in ways I cannot describe. I felt powerless, like a child watching the world fall apart. I realized in that moment that I had not only lost my wife. I had lost the woman I thought I knew. I had lost my trust. I had lost my faith in what I believed love to be, but it did not end there. Balitasari's role in all of this was undeniable. He was powerful, yes, but more than that, he was untouchable. He commanded respect, fear, and loyalty from everyone around him. If he wanted something, he could take it. He could manipulate, intimidate, and control. And Lydia, she allowed herself to be caught up in that power. She had been drawn not just to him as a man, but to the authority and influence he represented. It was a different kind of betrayal. One that made me feel smaller, weaker, invisible. The church reaction came next, slowly and painfully. I confided in one of the elders I trusted. I told him what I had seen, what I had discovered, how Lydia had betrayed me. He listened quietly, nodding. But his nods were not comforting. They were heavy, judgmental, hesitant. You must pray for her, he said finally. You must forgive. You must have faith I could not understand. Forgive. Pray. Faith. Did he not see the depth of the pain? Did he not see how my life had been dismantled, how my marriage had been destroyed? I wanted answers, not platitudes. I wanted justice, not spiritual advice. I went to other members of the church. Some avoided me. Some whispered behind my back. Some, the few who spoke, said she might be led by God. They could not see the manipulation, the lies, the betrayal. They only saw the image Lydia presented, the mask she wore so well. And in that silence, in that lack of support, I felt my faith crumble. I prayed and prayed. I fasted and prayed. I read scripture and tried to find comfort. But each verse, each prayer, each moment of devotion reminded me of the betrayal. How could God allow this? How could he watch as someone used his name to justify deception, lust, and manipulation? Slowly, painfully, I felt myself unravel. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I could not focus. I wandered through my home, seeing everything we had built together, and all I saw was deception. Every gift, every photo, every memory became a reminder of the lie. My identity as a husband, as a man of faith, as a Christian, began to collapse. I lost friends. I lost community. I lost direction. I was a shadow of myself, haunted by what I had seen and by the way she had used God to justify it. I could not talk to anyone without tears. I could not pray without anger. I could not forgive without collapsing inside. I felt trapped. Trapped in a marriage I could no longer trust, in a community that could not support me, in a faith that seemed silent when I needed it most. And yet, even in that darkness, a small part of me still clung to hope. A small part whispered that maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild, could find strength, could reclaim who I was. But that hope felt fragile, like a candle flickering in a hurricane. This is where my story stands now. I have confronted her. I have seen her excuses. I have felt the weight of Balitasari's power. I have experienced the judgment, the whispers, the silence of the church. And I have watched my faith and identity slowly disintegrate. I am still standing, but I am not the man I was. Not the man I thought I would be, and the worst part is that I still love her. Months passed, but the pain never left. Every corner of my home reminded me of her. Every sound of a car passing, every knock at the door made me tense. I could not escape the memory of betrayal. I could not escape the feeling of being hollowed out from the inside. The silence between us was deafening. We lived in the same house, but it was as if she were a stranger. Lydia tried to act normal at first. She would smile, try to speak about small things, about the meals, the chores, the children. But I was silent. My heart had built a wall that nothing could pass. I looked at her, and all I could see was the lies, the deceit, and the betrayal. Then one day she came into my room. Her eyes were red, and her hands trembled. I could tell she had been crying. For the first time in months, she spoke without pretense. "I am sorry," she said. Her voice was soft, almost broken. "I have sinned. I have hurt you. Please forgive me." I stared at her. My chest ached. My mind raced. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her she had destroyed everything, to make her feel the weight of her betrayal. But I did not. I only looked at her, then the silence stretched between us. "Do you understand what you did?" I asked finally. My voice was calm but heavy. "Do you understand how much pain you caused me? How you used God, how you used me, how you used everything I trusted you with?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes. I know. I have sinned. I am not proud of it. Please, I beg you. Forgive me." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to feel that old love again. I wanted to feel the warmth of the woman I had married, the woman I had trusted with my heart. But I could not. Not yet. Forgiveness did not come easily. It did not come after months of lies, after the emotional destruction, after seeing her choice so clearly. "I cannot forgive you yet," I said finally. My voice was steady, even though my heart was breaking. "You broke my trust, my faith, and my life. Forgiveness is not something I can give freely." After that she fell to her knees, crying, begging, pleading. I looked down at her and felt a strange mixture of anger, grief, and pity. I did not hate her completely. There was still love there, buried under the rubble of betrayal. But love alone was not enough. She had to earn it, and I was not ready to give it. "Lydia," I said, my voice firm, "I will not allow what happened to be erased with words. You have to live with the consequences of your actions. I have to live with them too. But I cannot forgive someone who used God to justify sin. Not yet. Maybe one day, but not now. Not like this." She looked at me, hopeless and broken, and for the first time I felt a flicker of power return to me. I realized that I still had control over my own heart. I realized that forgiveness was mine to give, not hers to demand. And in that moment, I made a choice. I would not forgive Balitasari. He had no place in my life, no matter what power he held, no matter what influence he had. He had broken the sacred trust between us. He had used his authority to manipulate. He had stolen what was mine, and I would not let him go unpunished. In my mind, I began to see the difference between Lydia and him. She had made a terrible mistake. She had sinned, yes, but she was human, vulnerable, and broken. He had chosen to use power to destroy what he could not earn. He had chosen to corrupt, to manipulate, to take advantage. And that was unforgivable. The church had little to say when Lydia returned. Some whispered that she had repented. Others said she should be forgiven. But I could not look at them. Their voices felt hollow. They had offered me platitudes when I needed truth. They had ignored the real sin. And in that emptiness, I realized I could not rely on others to restore my faith. I had to do it myself. I started walking alone at night. The streets were quiet, and the cold wind felt like it could cut through my sorrow. I prayed not for forgiveness or peace, but for clarity. I prayed for strength. I prayed for a way to rebuild myself without losing my mind. I prayed for God to show me a path forward, one that did not depend on Lydia or anyone else to fix. Slowly, painfully, I began to reclaim small pieces of myself. I read scripture not to justify her actions or mine, but to understand my own heart. I journaled my pain, my anger, my confusion. I allowed myself to cry, to feel, to grieve without shame. Each day was a battle. Against despair, against bitterness, against the temptation to hate everything around me. I refused to forgive Balitasari. In my mind, he was a symbol of corruption, manipulation, and abuse of power. I would not allow his actions to be cleansed by words or prayers. He would remain the traitor in my story, the one who used his position to destroy lives, the one who had no right to redemption. In my eyes, Lydia remained a puzzle. I did not hate her, but I did not trust her. Every conversation, every glance, every small gesture reminded me of what she had done. And yet, part of me longed for the life we had before the betrayal. I could not reconcile those feelings, and perhaps that was the hardest part, loving and loathing someone at the same time, knowing that the person you once worshipped could hurt you so deeply days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The emptiness in my heart began to fill with something else. Not joy, not yet. Not forgiveness, not fully. But understanding. Strength. The realization that I could survive this, that I could endure betrayal without losing myself. That knowledge became a shield against despair. And so, I began to rebuild. Slowly. Carefully. One small victory at a time. I reconnected with my children, who needed me more than ever. I focused on work, on routine, on creating a sense of order where chaos had ruled. I prayed for wisdom, for courage, for patience. I learned to separate my pain from my purpose. I still thought of Balitasari, and I still despised him. He would remain a shadow in my life, a warning, a reminder of what evil looks like when cloaked in power. But I refused to let him steal my future. I refused to let him define me. Lydia came and went, begging, apologizing, showing moments of humility and regret. I listened. I nodded. I acknowledged her, but I did not forgive fully. Not yet. Perhaps someday I would, but not now. Forgiveness could not erase what had been done. It could not undo the months of torment, the nights of grief, the collapse of trust. Forgiveness would have to wait until I was ready, and that was the truth I clung to. I was not powerless. I had been betrayed, yes, but I was still here. My heart had been broken, my faith shaken, my identity challenged. Yet I survived. I endured. I learned that survival was more than living. Survival was reclaiming your soul even when others tried to take it from you. The story of betrayal is never simple. It never ends neatly. There are no instant victories, no magic absolutions. There is only truth, pain, reflection, and the slow, painful work of rebuilding. And so I continued, step by step, day by day, holding on to what was mine, refusing to forgive the traitor, cautiously weighing the woman I had loved, and slowly finding the strength to rise from the ruins of a life I thought I would never survive.